Now, along with the wave of sanctions on Moscow, the United States has said that it is deploying additional forces to Germany to bolster the NATO's military presence. And it's doing this, according to the United States, in the face of Russia's invasion into Ukraine. Now, Biden has also underscored that the United States forces are not and will not be engaged in a conflict with Russia over Ukraine. This is what Biden has unequivocally said. However, he also in the same breath insists that every inch of NATO territory will be defended. The United States is sending some 7,000 additional troops to Germany. The forces will rather be positioned in a defensive capacity to defend and to reassure NATO allies. But bear in mind that the reason why Ukraine in many ways finds itself in this crisis that it presently does is because the political dispensation in Kiev was inclined towards joining the NATO military alliance. Now, the American president also said that the United States will be meeting with its Article 5 commitments, in which NATO members agree that an armed attack against one of them in Europe or in North America will be considered to be an attack against all of them. Since Ukraine is not a member of the NATO military alliance, these protections, which NATO says apply to all NATO members, do not apply to Ukraine, and therefore the United States and its NATO military alliance is not going to come directly to the rescue of the Ukrainians, and it is helping out Ukraine with financial sanctions on Russia.
And now I'm authorizing additional U.S. force capabilities to deploy to Germany as part of NATO's response, including some of the U.S.-based forces that the Department of Defense placed on standby weeks ago. Let me say it again. Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight in Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies and reassure those allies in the East.
Now, Joe Biden has called it a clear case of a premeditated attack. He's described Russian President Vladimir Putin as an aggressor who launched a war without a cause and a misguided dream of recreating the Soviet Union. Joe Biden has also said that there is now complete rupture in the US-Russian relationship if Moscow were to continue on the path that it is presently on. He's also ruled out the possibility of talks with Putin. Biden has said that the Russian leader has grander ambitions than just Ukraine.
He has much larger ambitions in Ukraine. He wants to, in fact, reestablish the former Soviet Union. That's what this is about. And I think that his ambitions are completely contrary to the place where the rest of the world has arrived. It's a large conflict already. The way we're going to ensure it's not going to aspire to a larger conflict is by providing all the forces needed in the Eastern European nations that are members of NATO. NATO is more united than it's ever been, and I have no plans to talk with Putin.
Meanwhile, Biden said that NATO will meet on Friday to map out further measures. Biden was asked if the stance was in sync with major defense partner India, to which Biden said that the United States is actually in consultation with India and the talks haven't been resolved completely yet. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken also spoke with India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. Blinken urged a strong collective response to condemn Russia's invasion into Ukraine. The 15-member United Nations Security Council, of which India is also a member, is likely to vote on Friday on a draft resolution. The resolution will, of course, seek to condemn Russia for having invaded into Ukraine and will require Moscow to immediately and to unconditionally withdraw its troops out of Ukraine. Now, Russia, of course, as a veto-yielding member of the UNSC, is expected to veto this draft resolution. But Washington sees the vote as a chance to try and isolate Moscow. It is seeking at least about 13 votes in favor and an abstention by Russia's partner China. India has, of course, remember, developed very close ties with Washington in recent years, but it has a long-standing, close relationship with Moscow as well. India has so far avoided condemning the Russian actions in Ukraine, although the Indian Prime Minister has urged for an end to the cessation of hostilities. There was also a call that he made to the Russian President Vladimir Putin and expressed his deep concerns about the 20,000 Indian nationals, most of them students, who are presently caught up in the conflict in Ukraine. Meanwhile, WION's correspondent Susan Tehrani has been tracking the developments very closely for us from New York. Listen in to this report.
U.S. President Joe Biden said on Thursday that the United States plans on having consultations with India regarding the crisis in Ukraine. Biden was asked whether India was fully on board with the United States in dealing with Russia, in which he answered, "We are going to have consultations with India. We haven't resolved that fully." Shortly after, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken contacted his Indian counterpart to discuss the situation in Ukraine. According to the State Department, Blinken, quote, stressed the importance of a strong collective response to condemn Russia's invasion and call for an immediate withdrawal and ceasefire. Meanwhile, also on Thursday, Indian Prime Minister Modi spoke with Russian President Putin about the situation in Ukraine. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION. World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.